On February 7th of 2025, disaster struck as a Bering Air flight carrying 10 people went missing over Alaska. Unfortunately, at the time of recording, we have just had the news about what has happened to that plane, and we're going to go through the timeline today of what happened, what was believed to have happened, and of course, honoring the memory of the 10 people that are presumed to be dead within the wreckage of this plane. So, Bering Air is a regional airline that was founded in 1979, and the idea is that it connects Alaska's most remote communities together. These flights serve as lifelines, especially when it comes to delivering, essential goods, medicines, services, and also transportation for people like what we saw today. But on the fateful day, a routine flight from Unalakleet to Nome took a very tragic turn. So the aircraft in question was a Cessna 208B Grand Caravan, alright, and it's known for its reliability, and it's something that was quite a routine trip. This wasn't supposed to be anything out of the norm. This kind of flight happens very, very regularly. And it's no stranger to the weather conditions that Alaska tends to throw out there. So, it was designed for purposes to fly in such strict conditions. Yet, even the most dependable of equipment, of course, cannot always overcome nature's unnaturability and unpredictability. The plane actually departed from Unalakleet with 10 people on board, including 2 employees from the Alaska Native Tribal Health Consortium, Roan Baumgartner and Cameron Hartvigsen, and they just completed vital work in servicing a community with a water system in Unalakleet. The passengers likely anticipated a smooth trip home. However, the plane approached Nome, air traffic control lost contact with the plane, and the radar data showed a sudden and alarming descent. And within hours, a search and rescue team was mobilized in Alaska. Time is, of course, critical when it comes to these kinds of emergencies because of the plummeting temperatures. Harsh weather conditions and vast distances can also hinder most urgent efforts, and after hours of searching, the wreckage was found on sea ice 34 miles away from Nome, and unfortunately there were no survivors. Among those lost souls were 2 individuals dedicated to improving their communities. Of course, Roan and Cameron, who we mentioned before, worked tirelessly to maintain essential infrastructure in remote villages, and they were more than just passengers. They were heroes to the people that, of course, they served. And the names of the remaining victims have not actually been publicly released yet, as the authorities are still notifying their families. But I think it goes without saying that our hearts go out to the people and to the families and friends of the people whose lives have been lost. The communities of Nome and Unalakleet are in mourning. Leaders and residents have come together to offer support and condolences. In small, tight-knit communities, tragedies like this can, of course, ripple and affect everyone's lives. So, as you can imagine, this kind of thing is currently being investigated. So the National Transportation Safety Board has actually launched an investigation into the crash to try and identify what went wrong and what happened, of course, to try and avoid something like this in the future. But early radar data does suggest a rapid loss in altitude and speed, but the exact cause remains a mystery at the time of recording. Was it a mechanical error? Was it a human error? We don't actually know, but most indicating signs are leading to the extreme weather that they were flying in. But these are the questions that the investigators will work tirelessly, of course, to try and find out and give us answers to very, very soon. Now, of course, flying in Alaska is unlike anywhere else in the world. Pilots regularly face sudden storms, they can have severe winds, minimal visibility, just the kind of things that you'd expect to see thrown at you when you're flying through Alaska. But even with experience and advanced technology, nature can sometimes be unforgiving, especially towards these kind of events like we've seen. But the Cessna 208B Grand Caravan has a strong safety record, but no aircraft is immune to the dangers of Alaska's wild environment, let's say. But this kind of aircraft was actually specifically designed to try and weather these storms. But again, we'll have to wait until the investigation fully concludes to find out what specifically has gone wrong. In times of tragedy, Alaska's communities really do rally together though, and this is no different, as memorials are being planned to honor the victims and support systems are being organized for the families that have been left behind. For now, residents are reflecting on the fragility of life.
Earlier this afternoon, the U.S. Coast Guard discovered wreckage of an aircraft matching the description of the overdue Bering Air Flight 445 traveling from Unalakleet to Nome. Sadly, there does not appear to be any survivors. On behalf of my fellow Nomites, I extend our collective condolences and support to the families and loved ones of the passengers and pilot, and others in our Big Alaska family are also impacted by this tragic occurrence. Our hearts are with you, and it is sad, and we're sad with you in this difficult time.
Updates from this afternoon was the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard did locate the aircraft on the ice about 34 miles southeast of Nome. It was a Coast Guard MH-60 Jayhawk helicopter and an air crew. When the air crew located the wreckage, they lowered 2 rescue swimmers to investigate the scene. Those rescue swimmers are out on the ice. They were able to see inside the aircraft, and they saw 3 individuals who were unresponsive, without any signs of life. The remaining 7 people are believed to be on board, but due to the extent of the damage, the rest of the aircraft was inaccessible. But all 7 people are believed to be inside that wreckage, and unfortunately, of course, it does not appear to be a survivable crash.
When the plane was located, we then turned our focus to the recovery efforts, along with the Alaska Air National Guard. AST has been in communication with all family members that were on board. We would like to thank the many citizens, organizations, and our first responder crews from Nome and White Mountain and their families for their support through our efforts.
But unfortunately now, since the wreckage has been found and 10 fatalities, it's time for us to roll our up our sleeves and go to work, unfortunately.
And also the importance of a community resilience. So, of course, you know, we're seeing something quite beautiful off the back of something so horrendously tragic. The Bering air crash does remind us of the risks that, of course, come with living in such remote yet beautiful lands. But it also highlights the courage of the people who were, you know, willing to take the risks of flying in such conditions to try and better communities that are not just their own. So, you know, it's a very commendable thing that these guys went out and did. And of course, you know, it's kind of terrifying as well, especially with when we put into the grand scheme of things as well, the other safety concerns that we've seen over the past couple of weeks, to say the very least, with the first one, the commercial airliner that had the Blackbird fly in its path, and also the crash that happened in Philadelphia not too long ago. You know, it's one of many aviation disasters that we've seen, and unfortunately it's really difficult to say what exactly is the cause of the problems. But again, it's not about the speculation at this point. It's about trying to, you know, rally together for the people and, you know, honor the memory of the people on board who are trying to do a service to another community. Of course, as the investigation continues, I'll try my best to give out any information that I can find. But for the meantime, you know, the thoughts and prayers are with everyone's families involved and friends involved who, of course, you know, were fatally taken on due to this crash. But what do you guys think about this? Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. While you're down there, you know, thoughts and prayers. And until next time, I'll speak to you guys later. Peace.